Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we're taking a look at, of course, the New York Islanders. So it's been a little bit of a interesting stretch here for the Islanders to end the month of November, as the team had some lows, but it seems like they are finishing this month on a high note, and we're going to take a look at that today. So, through the first 21 games of this season, the New York Islanders currently are 13, 8, and 0. That's 26 points, and that is second best in the Metropolitan Division where they currently sit. And of course, we know the team ahead of them is the New Jersey Devils. Now, if you take a look at the Islanders recently, they've had a pretty good stretch here. They obviously had that tough start to the road trip, but since then have bounced back pretty nicely. Taking a look at the Islanders' schedule here since we last talked a couple of days ago. Since that, the last time we talked was after the Ranger game, right? And that was a big game for the Islanders and kind of looked like it was going to be a pivotal point for where the Islanders would move next. But things didn't really go that way. They had a split with the Arizona-Columbus games before going on that road trip, and they didn't look great in either of those games. Even the Blue Jackets game they won, they were supposed to win that game. I mean, the Blue Jackets have been without Voracek, Werenski. I mean, half their bodies are down, and even at the beginning of that season in training camp, that team still didn't look very good. So the Islanders should have disposed of them a little bit better. They lost a lot of puck battles, and that's kind of what we saw against the Coyotes as well. Like, they just didn't play with enough urgency. And that kind of started to show. It didn't show up in the first night. They had the Daniel Alfredsson night in Ottawa to send the Senators fans home a little bit unhappy with a 4-2 loss and a big win for the Islanders in Ottawa. But even in that game, a couple of bad penalties and just some untimely things that could have put that game in more jeopardy. And then they started to lose. They struggled in that Central Division part of their schedule. They went down to Nashville, lost that game 5-4, and they came back. And unfortunately, when you're down 4-2 going into the third period, you're not going to win most of those games. And especially teams are starting to pick up on what the Islanders have been doing recently. You can't, teams are like, all right, we know what the Islanders are going to do. They struggle in the first two periods, and then they show up in the third. All we have to do is take that lead in the first two periods and just lock it down in the third. And, the Predators took advantage of that. Kind of the same thing in Dallas. I mean, the Islanders they gave up 5 goals in each of those games, 10 goals in 2 games. That doesn't sound like New York Islanders hockey from what we know. And they lost that game 5-2, and it, really wasn't that close. And the score kind of showed that. But they were able to end the road trip on a high note. They go down to Toronto, take a 1-0 lead in the first period. Of course, John Tavares scores a goal in the second. You thought, that could be a little bit of a changing of the tide, but the Islanders found a way to keep things rolling. They scored a shorthanded goal, a power play goal, and of course they ended up winning the game in overtime. That was a big win for the Islanders and a game that they can definitely look back on and say, we kind of stole that one, but we found a way to win the game at the end of the day. And then they play Edmonton, a 3-0 win over the Oilers the other night, and Ilya Sorokin, absolutely incredible. I think he had a 49 save shutout. Absolutely incredible game there. The Islanders' attendance has actually looked decent, which is pretty good. It looks like they're selling out UBS Arena. It looks like they've sold out their last 3 home games. So that's pretty exciting for the Islanders. Again, it doesn't look like that in the arena. If you go there, there is definitely a lot of empty seats. But listen, a sellout's a sellout, however you want to put it. This weekend they go to Columbus. They have a big 3-game stretch here. This weekend they play Columbus, who is a Metropolitan Division opponent, and then they have a home with the Philadelphia Flyers to end the month of November. These next 3 games are pretty critical in the sense that you could really start to create a gap between yourselves and the Blue Jackets and Flyers, who have kind of been falling off the tracks, and those two teams have kind of been a little bit of a lost cause at this point, and the Islanders can really put a nail in their coffins here going into December. These are 3 critical games in your division that the Islanders really can separate themselves from these 2 other teams in the pack. So that's looking at the team's schedule. Now, if you take a look at the Islanders overall, goals for, they sit 9th in the league, which is pretty good. The Islanders have for the last couple years under Trotz, struggled to score goals. That has not been the case this season. The Islanders are scoring some goals. Goals against is not first or second in the league up there with the Boston Bruins, but they're still 7th in the league, which is still better than their goals against, and is still top 10 in the National Hockey League. And a lot of that has to be credited to the goaltending, because the Isles' goaltending has been extremely, extremely good this year. And there isn't going to be better goaltending in the league. If you go throughout the league, you're not going to see much better tandems than Ilya Sorokin and Semyon Varlamov. And that's been a consistent theme now for the past 3 seasons since Varley came to the Islanders. And at the time, I was a little questionable on that move. He struggled in Colorado, kind of got the door, kind of thrown to him. And he's turned it around here on Long Island. Again, a lot of that has to be credit to Mitch Korn, Piero Greco, and whoever's left of that Islanders goalie coaching staff this season. But they've done a very good job. The Islanders' save percentage, .922, which is basically, pull up your PlayStation or Xbox, that's video game goaltending numbers from that tandem. And the league average, .901. So that just shows you just how good. You look at pretty much a 21-point difference there. I mean, that is very good for the Islanders. Their power play is actually not doing terrible. It's just below the league average. And, of course, the penalty kill is where you expect it to be. The Islanders are way, way above in that department. The league average is 78% on the penalty kill. The Islanders are eclipsing over 84%. So the Islanders are going to be good defensively, and they continue that theme so far. And even more than that, they're actually scoring goals shorthanded. So with that kind of penalty kill, you expect more of a defensive-minded approach, but they are very opportunistic, and they will score shorthanded goals like they did the other night in Toronto. So the Islanders are just one of those teams that can just find ways to get it done. So with that said, who's leading the team in points? Of course, it's Matt Barzal. He finally broke that, the storyline of not scoring a goal this season. He was able to put up 2 goals in Dallas, ultimately in a losing effort, but it's nice to see him scoring some goals. Brock Nelson leads the team in goals with 9 this season, so that's pretty good there for the Islanders. Overall, the Islanders are playing quite well. Alexander Romanov is toward the top of the team in terms of ice time. Adam Pelech leads the team in ice time with over 21 minutes per night average ice time. So Adam Pelech continuing to do what he does. He's a really good hockey player. And again, not your flashy goal scorer, but if you respect the game and you respect the defensive side of the game, especially for the New York Islanders, he is definitely the protege of what that is for this team. With that said, there's a big stretch here coming up for the Islanders. I already mentioned we're taking a look at a stretch here where they have 3 Metropolitan Division opponents. Then they kind of look to get some revenge on the Nashville Predators as they host the Predators December 2nd. They host Chicago and St. Louis. After that, they head to the Rock to end the year. They have a big game against the New Jersey Devils on the 9th. They host Carolina. They go to Boston. And then they head to the West Coast, where they play Arizona, Vegas, and Colorado. And obviously, the marquee game here before the end of the season, they go back to MSG for their final. I know, it's crazy that the Islanders and Rangers games are done before the new year, which is insanity. They play 1 game at UBS this year, 2 games at the Garden, and that's it. And before Christmas, we've already seen the end of the Islanders-Rangers rivalry this season. The Islanders currently lead that series 2-0, and again, December 22nd, we expect that to be a sellout. The week of Christmas, or the week before Christmas, it's going to be crazy in the city there. Obviously, the Islanders coming into town is going to be a marquee game there at the Garden, and the Rangers, the way their season's kind of going, that could be a critical game for them as well. So you don't want to look too far ahead into that. That is obviously going to be a huge game for the Islanders. They get a 2-day gap between the Avalanche game and the Ranger game, so they will be well rested going into that game. I'm definitely excited for that. Won't be able to go to that one, but I am definitely going to be cheering on the Islanders, and we expect Varlamov to be in there. But right now, the Islanders, I have to say I'm pretty impressed with how they've played. I was really nervous those first couple games where it was kind of that Jekyll and Hyde team where they played so well against the Anaheim Ducks, winning 7-1, and beating San Jose 5-2, and then they lay a goose egg against Tampa, New Jersey, and Florida, and then you're saying to yourself, uh-oh, what's going on with the Islanders? And then they play well against the Rangers, go on a winning streak, and now it's been a little bit more up and down, but again, for the most part, the record's still pretty good at 13-8. Now, the problem is the Islanders have played more games than most of the other teams in their division, so they might slide a little bit here over the next couple of weeks in the standings, maybe to third or fourth. But with some of these teams struggling, like the Rangers, the Capitals, the Penguins, it does allow the New York Islanders to maybe slip up just a little bit. And that's what makes these critical games like this home and home with the Flyers here at the end of the month that much more critical. So guys, let me know what you think down below. What do you guys think of the New York Islanders so far this season? It's been a pretty good start, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts. And, you know, normally I don't do this, but I got some free merch from Blue Line Deli. Now, if you guys don't know, they actually sell bagels at UBS Arena, and they gave me a couple of shirts here, so I wanted to shout them out. Thank you very much to those guys over there, because these are pretty cool shirts, and I definitely will be wearing them, so shout out to those guys. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you again next time.